This video will introduce the concept of a tree, which is a special type of graph. So the definition here is that a tree is a connected, undirected graph with no simple circuits. An example of a tree might look something like the following. Right? There's no loops in there, there's no way to get back to what you started with without crossing the same edge twice. So that would be a tree. However, if you were to take any graph that there is some sort of a loop in it, then this would be not a tree. Okay, so these are examples of what trees are. And at first, it just seems like a random concept here in graph theory, but it's going to turn out to have tons of applications. And in particular, we're usually going to be talking about something called a rooted tree. So a rooted tree is where you consider one of your vertices to be the root or the beginning of your tree. And then everything else is going to be based off of that. So for example, if that is your root, then these nodes that are below it, these would be the children of the root here. And so you can have children, you can have siblings, you can have parents, you can have ancestors, all this, the typical family words you would use, they can all apply to rooted trees. In fact, for you computer science majors, you've actually dealt with rooted trees before, and you may have even heard of the term root directory. So the idea is a file storage system on a computer is going to have a root directory, and then below that it might have individual files, or it might have folders that contain files, and so on. So again, it's set up in the structure of a tree here. Now I do want to point out something, that there really isn't anything special about a certain vertex. I could change the root to here, and it would be a perfectly valid tree still. So if this is my node A here, and this is B, then I would have something coming off of B there, and it would look something like that. So the thing I'm trying to point out here is that the root is, at least it could be, arbitrarily chosen on your graph to become a root, or it could have an actual real meaning like the root directory on a computer. But just know that you can change roots and it still makes sense mathematically. It just changes the children-parent relationship between the different vertices. And then we have a fun little theorem here that's guaranteed that any tree with n vertices will have exactly n minus 1 edges. No more, no less. So it gives us a nice little way to identify things. If you were to happen to count the edges and it was not the right number, well, then it wouldn't be a tree. Of course, it's usually easier to tell it's a tree by looking at it and see if there's any loops anywhere or not. But sometimes maybe there's a really complicated tree or something with a lot of intertangling branches and so on. Regardless, this is the mathematical concept of a tree. And in other videos, we're going to see some applications of these trees.